What if I told you that the most dangerous part of a relationship isn't the betrayal you can see, but the quiet, unassuming words you ignore? That it's not the obvious lies or even the cheating that destroy a man, but the casual comments that slip under your radar, the ones that seem harmless at first. What if I told you that these words hold the power to unravel your self-worth, your clarity, your very identity? Because relationships don't collapse all at once. They corrode, slowly, silently, through tiny cracks you pretend not to notice. A comment here, a joke there. Until one day you wake up and realize you're no longer yourself. You've been reshaped, bent to fit into a dynamic that drains you. And the tragedy? You let it happen. Because you never recognized the warning signs. You let your desire blind you. You mistook emotional manipulation for connection. You tolerated subtle disrespect because you were afraid to be alone. So many men walk directly into this trap. They think if they love hard enough, give enough, stay patient enough, they'll be rewarded. But you don't win loyalty by losing yourself. You don't earn real love by becoming a shadow of a man. You can give her everything, your time, your energy, your heart. But if you're giving it without boundaries, without backbone, you're not gaining love. You're signing up for slow self-destruction. You ever wonder why some men find themselves stuck in relationships where they're constantly chasing approval, constantly walking on eggshells? It's because they've been taught that love means endurance, that if she's moody, it's your job to adjust. If she disrespects you, it's your job to forgive. If she's unhappy, you must have failed. But that's not love. That's emotional imprisonment dressed as devotion. A man without boundaries isn't seen as generous. He's seen as weak. A man who sacrifices everything for a woman isn't admired. He's taken for granted. You think you're being noble, but what you're really doing is training her to disregard you. Because the second she sees that you value her more than you value yourself, she stops respecting you. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Lose that and everything else falls apart. You want to know what truly draws a woman in? It's not desperate affection or empty promises. It's strength. Not the loud, boastful kind, the quiet, immovable kind. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to be anything less. A man who doesn't need to prove his worth because he lives it. Who doesn't fear being alone because he refuses to settle for disrespect just to keep someone beside him. That kind of man doesn't need to raise his voice to command presence. He doesn't chase, doesn't plead, doesn't compromise on things that matter. He sets his standards and holds to them, not because he's controlling, but because he knows his value. And in a world full of men willing to bend just to be chosen, a man like that is unforgettable. But here's the truth most won't tell you. If you let her speak to you in ways that tear you down, if you let the disrespect slide, laugh off the jabs, pretend the insults were just jokes, you are choosing to be broken. One sentence at a time, one dismissal at a time. And each time you allow it, you reinforce it. You teach her exactly how little you require to stay. She may never yell, she may never cheat, but she'll test you with her words, with her tone, with the way she treats you when she's upset. And if you fail that test, if you show her that she can say whatever she wants and you'll still be there, still apologizing, still hoping she'll come around, you don't have a relationship. You have a slow-motion disaster. Most men learn this too late. They think their silence is strength, that walking away from confrontation keeps the peace. But real peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from standing firm, from making it clear, early and often, that you will not be spoken to like a child, dismissed like a burden, or tolerated like an inconvenience. Because words matter. They reveal more than emotion. They reveal character. And a woman's words, especially when she's angry, especially when she's frustrated, will tell you everything you need to know. If you're smart enough to listen, if you're strong enough not to ignore what you hear. So ask yourself this, when she speaks to you, do you feel smaller or stronger? Do you feel respected or reduced? Because if her words make you doubt your worth, it's not a phase. It's a message. And if you don't act on that message, it won't just be your relationship that crumbles. It'll be you. And let me tell you something. If you let someone chip away at your worth, They'll keep going. Not because they're evil, but because you taught them it was okay. You showed them with your silence, with your tolerance, that they could cross the line, and you wouldn't stop them. And no, love won't save you from that. Love doesn't erase disrespect. It doesn't fix manipulation. Without respect, love turns into a tool, a way to keep you close while tearing you down. That's not love. That's control dressed up in pretty words. So what do you do when a woman speaks to you in a way that stabs at your pride, questions your integrity, or makes you feel small? You don't plead. You don't fight to prove your worth. You walk. Because the minute a man stays in a space where he's not respected, he loses more than her respect. He loses his own. And without self-respect, everything crumbles. A man who honors himself doesn't wait for someone to validate him. He doesn't explain why he deserves to be treated right. He simply refuses to stay where that standard isn't met. This isn't about being dominant or controlling. It's about deciding what you'll never allow. When someone mocks you, belittles your efforts, or constantly dismisses your voice, and you stay silent, you're showing them exactly what you'll put up with. And the scary part? Once that boundary is broken, the damage doesn't stay the same. It grows. The relationship starts dying, slowly, quietly, painfully, because once you lose respect, love has nowhere to live. And when she shows you that side of her, whether it's a snide comment, a look of contempt, or a sarcastic dig that cuts deeper than it should, believe her. Believe that she meant it. Don't paint over it with excuses. Don't tell yourself she's just having a bad day, that she's stressed, that it's your fault, because the more you explain it away, the more you become the man who accepts crumbs and calls it a meal. It's a bitter truth, but one you need to feel in your gut. If she does not respect you, she cannot truly love you. That's not just relationship advice. It's survival. It's the difference between becoming the man you're meant to be and becoming a ghost of him. And the longer you stay, hoping things will change, the more you erode from the inside. You lose the fire. You lose the edge. You lose the voice that once told you you deserved better. See, women don't fall for the man who tolerates disrespect. They fall for the man who holds the line, the man who stands in who he is, the man who doesn't flinch when challenged because his value doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And when he senses disrespect, he doesn't start negotiating. He doesn't beg. He walks. And in that walk, he says everything he needs to say. In that silence, she hears the loudest message of all. This man cannot be moved by fear or by need. He stands because that's who he is. And make no mistake, it won't always come as shouting or insults. Sometimes it's subtle, a joke with a sharp edge, a dismissive tone when you speak, a glance that makes you feel small. You'll feel it before you fully notice it. And the worst thing you can do is laugh it off, because every time you let it slide, you're giving permission. You're saying, this is okay. You can talk to me like that. You can treat me like that. I'll still be here. Until one day you wake up in a version of yourself you barely recognize. Dull. Number walking on eggshells in your own life, wondering how you got there. And the truth is, it started with one moment, one insult you let pass, one line you let her cross. But it doesn't have to end that way. You can rewrite that script right now, not by arguing, not by demanding respect, but by walking away from anyone who refuses to give it. Because nothing commands respect more than a man who has the strength to leave. And here's the twist. When you start living with that standard, you don't end up alone. You attract the kind of women who see that strength and honor it, the kind who admire your steadiness, who don't test your worth, they recognize it. And that's when everything changes. Not because you forced it, but because you became the man who stopped chasing validation and started living with integrity. So when the words come, the ones that seem innocent but carry poison underneath, hear them. When she says, if you loved me, you would stop. Don't fall for it. That's not love. That's leverage. That's a trap built on guilt and control. And if you give in to it, you start shrinking to fit into a version of yourself that makes her feel better. But real love doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to trade your dignity for affection. And if she's willing to twist love into a tool to get what she wants, That's not love worth keeping. Because love doesn't manipulate. It doesn't demand a sacrifice of your self-worth. And if you let that happen, if you stay in that space, it won't just cost you the relationship. It'll cost you your fire, your strength, your peace. So pay attention to the words, to the tone, to how you feel when you're with her. Because sometimes it's not what she says, it's how it makes you feel. And if something feels off, if something cuts, that's your soul trying to speak. Listen, stand, and if you must, walk. Because no woman, no matter how beautiful, is worth losing yourself. She tells you, if you loved me, you'd just do this one thing. And you hesitate. You tell yourself, maybe she's right. Maybe if I do this, she'll feel secure. Maybe this will prove I care. But it never ends there, does it? First, it's your friends. You go out with them too much. So you pull back. Then it's your coworker. She makes me uncomfortable. So you stop talking to her. Then it's your job. You work too late. You care more about your career than me. And before you even realize it, you're not you anymore. You've bent and folded and erased the parts of yourself that once made you strong, grounded, magnetic. You think this is love, but it's not. It's submission. It's trading your backbone for her approval, giving up your edge in hopes of peace. But here's the brutal truth. Peace never comes. Not that way. Because when you begin to prove your love through surrender, through sacrifice, through obedience, you're not growing closer. You're decaying. And worse, she starts to lose the very thing that drew her to you. She doesn't say it out loud, but deep down she stops respecting you. Love isn't a leash. It's not a test. It's not supposed to be about how much of yourself you're willing to throw away to keep someone else happy. The moment love turns into obedience, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a slow, silent war for your identity. And in that war, you're losing. Every time you silence your truth to avoid a fight. Every time you put her emotions above your own standards. Every time you choose comfort over your core. Yes, relationships require compromise. But that word gets twisted. Compromise isn't one person constantly bending while the other demands. It's not manipulation dressed up as love. It's not, if you care, prove it by changing who you are. It's two people standing strong and meeting in the middle. But when one person is using guilt, tears, silence, or withdrawal to gain control, what you're in is not love. It's power play. And power doesn't coexist with attraction. Because a man who trades his purpose for peace, who douses his fire to make someone else feel secure, that man slowly becomes invisible. Ask yourself, would the men who built empires, who stared down fear, who changed the world, would they fold to emotional pressure about seeing their friends on a weekend? Or would they stay rooted in their mission, clear in who they are, unshaken by anyone else's insecurity? You know the answer. A man on a mission doesn't shrink to fit into someone else's comfort zone. And the moment you do, you lose your edge. You lose your fire. You lose yourself. And then the woman who once said she loved you, she starts looking at you differently. She won't say it, but you'll feel it. The energy shifts. The spark fades. And you're left wondering what went wrong, not realizing you gave it all away, bit by bit, for a version of love that was never real. So what do? You stop playing the game. You stop offering your soul in exchange for approval. You show, not with words, but with unwavering action, that your love is not a bargaining chip. You set boundaries, not as a threat, but as a reflection of self-respect. And when those boundaries are tested and pushed and violated, you don't argue, you don't explain, you walk. Because the moment you accept love tied to submission, you've signed up for a lifetime of proving yourself to someone who will never be satisfied. That's not love. That's slow-motion self-destruction. And just when you think it couldn't get more subtle, she says something else. I just want to have fun. Seems innocent enough, doesn't it? Playful, light. Who doesn't want fun? But look closer. Really listen. Because hidden behind those words is often something darker. I don't want responsibility. I don't want commitment. I don't want to be held accountable. And if you're a man building something, if you're walking the path of purpose and vision, then this should make you pause. Because a relationship built on fun alone will collapse the moment life gets real. When tragedy hits, when you're overwhelmed, burned out, uncertain, When you're no longer the charming, smiling version of yourself, but the man carrying weight. That kind of woman, she's gone. Because fun was the foundation, and fun doesn't survive the storm. Let's be clear, joy is vital in love. Laughter matters. You want to be with someone who makes your days lighter. But lightness without depth, that's hollow. And when a woman makes it clear she's only in it for the highs, the excitement, the thrill, what she's telling you is that when those highs fade, so will she. She won't stay through your struggle. She won't show up when it's inconvenient. Because the moment the ride slows down, she's looking for the next thrill. And if you're the man who sticks around anyway, who ignores the warning signs, who hopes that maybe, with time, she'll take things seriously, then you're not just wasting your time. You're selling your soul. You're turning yourself into an entertainer, a distraction, not a man of substance. And deep down, you know it. You feel it. You feel how small it makes you. Because a woman who only wants fun doesn't see your purpose. She doesn't respect your grind. She doesn't care about the man you're becoming. She's focused on the moment, not the mission. And if you're building something that matters, your life, your work, your legacy, you can't afford to be someone's temporary amusement. So you walk, not with anger, not with drama, just clarity. You don't try to convince her to change. You don't beg for commitment. You don't lower your standards just to keep her around. You walk. Because a man who honors his mission does not chase approval. He doesn't tolerate disrespect. He doesn't stay where he's only valued when it's easy. And when you walk away from the ones who only want fun, you send a message. To her, to the world, but most importantly, to yourself. I am not here to entertain. I am here to lead. I am not here for the temporary. I am here to build. I will not shrink. I will not fold. I will not waste one more second proving myself to someone who never saw my worth to begin with. That changes everything.